ago.
Where did you live when the hurricane of 1938 struck?
I lived in Providence, Rhode Island. Providence is the capital of Rhode Island. Should know that. Yes.
How old were you when the hurricane?
I was 14.
Okay. Did you have any warning of the storm?
No. Nobody knew anything about that hurricane. Nothing.
What were you doing when the hurricane struck?
My mother had planned to meet me, and we went downtown, and we went to the Majestic Theater to go to a movie. After I went to school, I met her, and we went to the movie.
What did you do? Like, what happened when you're at the movie theater?
Well, all of a sudden, the electricity went off, and we looked down, and there was water coming up in. Providence is bordered by a river that runs very close to the center of Providence. And it had just come up, and there it was coming toward us. So we went upstairs, and there were things on the sides of the room that looked like one time they had been gas driven to light, because that was before electricity, I guess. And my mother was sure now that we didn't have electricity, there'd be gas coming through there. So she was kind of terrified of the gas and of the water coming up. And I just said, just relax, we'll be okay.
How did your family react to the hurricane?
Well, my mother was worried about it because she was in it. The rest of the family, see, I was an only child, so I didn't have brothers and sisters that worried about it. I had aunts and uncles. One uncle took me home finally, us home finally. But my father didn't know it was a hurricane because he didn't know what a hurricane was. There was no electricity, so he went to bed. So when my mother and I got home, my mother was furious that he wasn't worried enough about his wife and his daughter that he could go to sleep. And he assured her the only thing he could do was to go to bed. So that's what happened then.
Was any of your property damaged by the hurricane?
No, in Providence it was all right. There were a few things that, like little trees and stuff. But we owned a farm, and that was in Green, Rhode Island. And there was some damage there, but not an awful lot. For some reason, I can't explain it, but for some reason the tenant who was living there then opened both side doors, so the breeze seemed to just go right through. So we didn't have any major losses, no.
How would you describe the storm? Was it like any other storm, or?
Well, you know, I was in the theater, which saved me some, and it was just a gust, a huge gust that was coming in, blowing and blowing and blowing, and it was really something. Uh, a lot of people did lose a lot of property, and along the ocean where we used to go and spend our summers, many of the whole miles of ocean, the cottages that were on the ocean were all wiped right out, absolutely wiped right out. It was only the very strongest ones that were up on something, so they weren't level with the water that existed. Whole areas wiped right out.
Were there any other storms you witnessed in your lifetime that are comparable to that storm?
Well, we were just talking about the snowstorm of 78,
Yeah.
78, and the thing about that was it snowed and snowed and snowed and snowed. We had so much, and we didn't have any electricity for 4 or 5 days, which was, we lived on a chicken farm, and electricity supplied the chickens with their feed and their water. So it was very difficult to try to make everything work okay, and to load and everything. Yeah. Now, my husband was in the chicken business, and he contacted Rhode Island, and they let him come through that storm. Otherwise, nobody was supposed to go on the roads. But he got permission to go with a load of chickens, just so the people in Providence would have their fresh chicken.
What effects did the storm have on your life?
Well, I was only 14.
Yeah.
So it didn't really affect it very much on my whole life. I was a fairly good student in Providence, and I intended to go to college, and I still do. So I would say I had an awful lot to do with it, but I have a good memory of it.
I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say about it?
Well, we asked for, people were driving, and my mother asked if we could have a ride with them, and they wouldn't let us. So we walked a long way to my cousins and my uncles, and then my uncle took us from there to our home. And really, it was quite a remembrance. when you go to the beach and you see everything flattened, it's really very good. So we were lucky, very lucky. Thank you.
Thank you.